Okay, so maybe I can start by introducing as we wait for the rest to come in. So good evening, everyone, and welcome this to a set of the Kenya Psychiatrist Association webinars. We're going to have and this is because May is special in the mental health space. It's the Mental Health Awareness Month, and the global theme for this year is Together for Mental Health. The Kenya Psychiatrist Association has adopted a theme of mental health in the arts, entertainment, and sports industry. So we're going to explore mental health in these industries. And this week, we're going to focus on art, music, and dance, and promoting positive mental health. So welcome again, everyone. We can have conversations and any insights you might have as the webinar is continuing in the chat box and the questions in the Q&A section. So I'll introduce the panelists. With us today, we have 4 panelists. I'll introduce the lady first. She's called Joanne Carrera. Joanne is a marriage, family, and child therapist, and she's a director at East Counselors, which is a for individual and family therapy, and a training, and they also do training for organizations. Then there's Dr. Franz. Dr. Franz is a man who wears very many hats. So he's a medical doctor currently doing his residency in psychiatry. He has a keen interest in literature, and he has penned and published a number of books. The one that has caught my interest is called Kenyan Man versus Woman. So I'm going to look for that book later and read it, maybe after Franz tells me what it's about. So his books can be found on Script, online on Kobo, Barnes, and Apple ebook store. He's also a visual artist, and he exhibits his art in a virtual environment, incorporating animation and music. He specializes in video art, and he has hosted 4 solo visual art exhibitions. With us also is Mr. Brian Otieno, who also has eclectic talents and interests. He's a psychologist, he's an art therapist, he's a mental health advocate. He's a team lead at Alfajiri Network Africa. Currently, he's pursuing his master's in public health, and he's known for his work on the integration of mental health in other health systems and advocacy. He enjoys working with the youth and various youth advisory committees, local, regionally, and globally. Mr. Philip Tuju, popularly known as Phila, is a founder and director at Redforth Academy of Dance, Music, and Drama. We have him to thank for many beautiful tunes that we have had. The Safaricom Choir, Redforth Choir. He's also a top voice coach. This I learned from a friend of mine who is coached by him. And I think Mr. Tuju has to be a very patient man because my friend croaks at karaoke, so he has a lot of work to do. He also works with special needs children in this field, and he has the Redforth Butterfly Special Needs Music School and Music Therapy Center. You can check out their videos on Facebook. I have watched some of them, and it's very inspiring to see these beautiful children and the opportunity that they're being given and confidence that's being built in them. So very privileged to have all of our panelists. I am hoping by now everyone is in. Okay, most of them are in. So maybe we can start with the questions. This is just to all of our panelists today. I'd like to ask you, do arts, music, and dance promote positive mental health? And if they do, how do they do that? So, Brian, we could start.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Brian.
Yeah, so when someone mentions art, the first thing that comes in mind for people is entertainment. And you mentioning art being a form of therapy, it might be noble to most people, and one of the things that probably people don't get. But from the discussion is, yes, art can be a therapy in itself, and it's working, especially in situations where people are unable to express themselves in the right way or just get the right words or right form of communication for them, art comes in handy and makes it easier for people to bring that which is not explainable. And I'll use an example of our setup as the African man, because that's how we've been brought up in a way. Sometimes expressing yourself might not be a norm that one has been brought up to talk. And one of the ways I think it's easier for us to talk without really talking.
I can't hear Brian. Can everybody else hear him?
I can't hear.
Okay, Brian, we can't hear you. Maybe as he's reconnecting, Fila, you could tell us how arts, music and dance promote positive mental health.
Hello, hi guys. I hope you can all hear me. I
Yes,
think
we
I
can.
just want to say thank you very much for inviting me to this platform to just have this amazing discussion and important discussion. I think Brian was saying something very important, and you know, I think the approach that he was taking in it, I think is how I would also put it out to that it promotes mental health. You know, just as you said, in the African setting and in our society today, there are some things that you're very afraid of talking about. There are certain things that you're afraid of putting out there, or certain situations or things that you may be going to, that you don't have the right words to communicate. From the point of view from the person who's having the issue of mental health, for the person who do something, and also for the person who wants to help them out, music plays that important role. The arts play that important role where that we can be able to communicate. You know, music is one of the ways that people have communicated and said and passed on different messages without being very hard hitting, or without being very direct. It's an icebreaker. I consider it as something that we call an icebreaker. So truly, I think the arts promote positive mental health. They're an important aspect in that journey of mental health, and from the point of view of the person who's providing the service of, you know, just helping anyone who's going through any mental issues, or any who is in need of therapy, to the point of view of the people who are also going through it, to be able to reconnect. And I think the arts are one, if not the best mode of this kind of communication.
Okay, thank you, Fila. We had lost you. I can see you're back. Could you pick up from where you left?
Having power outage here in Odirum. So what I was saying is maybe just adding to what Phil out has asked is art opens an avenue for us to explain, like it's a form of expression where you lack words or lack the right tonation to use while expressing yourself. So most of the time it's just providing that form of expression and bringing out a conversation or a conversation starter, because in most of the cases, people don't know how to start or where to start from. So art provides that platform or avenue where people are able to bring out that which is not really easy to bring out in form of words or using the right tone. So yes, it's one of the ways I think, or I know, promotes positive mental health, and it's just how people express themselves, and that's how it does that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Now that we have learned that yes, art, music, and dance do promote positive mental health, and we've been given examples of how, the next question I'd like to ask is, I think Fila will answer this one. is art, music, and dance, are they for everyone? Because for instance, I cannot dance to save my life. Forgive the racial slur, but I have been told I dance like a white woman. And I was also kicked out of art school when I was in high school, of the art class, and I was told to save myself the embarrassment and drop the subject. So I'm wondering, is there room for everyone in this space, even people who have no talent?
Exactly. And I think now in this kind of setting where we're having this kind of discussion, here's where now we realize the importance of the gift of art. I usually talk about largely the gift of music, but now here we have an opportunity to discuss the gift of art. I have many special needs students, and a special need student is what the regular guy would describe as someone who doesn't know how to sing, someone who can't do things well like everyone else, but they still have the gift of music, and they still have the gift of music. And all you need to do is to watch them and see how they're enjoying that singing, that dancing, that art, painting, or whatever they're doing that you might not consider is good. But when, if you ask if art is for everyone, yes, I say art is for everyone because it does different things to us. What I consider good singing might not be good singing to a professional. Well, the approach that I'll take with music and the quality of music that I'll work with a special needs student is going to be different from the music that I'll work with someone who I consider has studied music. So yes, music works for everyone. The same way you said that you couldn't dance to save your life, but I'm sure that you find a lot of joy when you're dancing in your own room somewhere hidden. It still brings you joy. So this is a gift that is there for everyone and brings joy to everyone. The question now is, do you want to be a professional? That now becomes the question. The challenge, it becomes different because there are some who can become professionals and earn a living from this, but there are those ones who just draw joy from it. And in the context of music therapy, we are able to dilute the music to be able to suit all these groups. So as a music professional and as someone who wants to use art as therapy, I should be able to discover, okay, fine, what kind of music will I use to reach out to this person? So I'd say that it's meant for everyone and it's a gift for everyone.
Okay, thank you, Phila. I'm sure many of us are glad to hear that. We don't have to be very good at this, and you don't have to be professionals. Thank you. So, while I still have you, I'd like to know, are there any spaces in Kenya, maybe in Nairobi, and okay, even the other big cities where people who are interested can go for art, maybe art to express themselves or to dance or to experience or play music? I know that there are some for children and some for the youth. I would be interested in knowing, are there any for people who are not in that bracket? Although I know everyone is young up until we're 80 or thereabouts. So could you tell us about such spaces?
Are you talking about spaces in terms of spaces where for therapy in particular? Or
not therapy, just art, where we can go and just enjoy art or go paint, dance.
Yes. Now, again, that's a very important question because in Kenya, we have monetized everything, and everything you pay for. So even when you're going for art spaces, the most common would be a dance school. The most common would be an art school where you're being taught how to paint. But we always tend to go the educational approach where you're coming here to be taught. You're not. So, question, I'd say, I am not aware of one that is exclusively for the pure joy of it. Take schools, the schools where children learn how to bake and stuff. You see, that makes it joyous for them to as they're learning expressing themselves. So there are not enough spaces where I can just decide we are going to a place where we're just going to do a lot of art not having to worry whether any of us is perfect, but it's just an opportunity for us to express ourselves the same way we'd go, you know, for any other recreation activity like swimming, you know, where you just go for the pure joy of it without having to worry, am I perfect? So question, no, then I don't think there are enough spaces in Kenya and in, you know, in the cities across Kenya, but there is an opportunity for people to invest in such spaces.
Okay, thank you, Phila. I'd like to hear from the other panelists. Do you know about any spaces like John?
Say no. Also, that is just done for relaxation or to just promote the mental wellness. So for me as well, no.
Okay, Brian, any? Okay, Brian, it's okay. We can get back to you later on. I'll go to John. John, I'd like us to tell us, we've heard about art therapy, music therapy, dance therapy. Like the viewers would like art and dance therapy. What does it entail?
Thank you so much. So I will break down what those three mean, or art, music, and dance therapy. When we look at it from a therapeutic point, we are looking for ways that music, art, and dance can be used to promote mental wellness. By this, I mean to heal the pain, whatever pain one may be experiencing mentally, and also to promote growth so that one becomes a functional human being in terms of their mental health space. So it's not about art, but ones that are particularly used to bring healing to a person's mental space, to heal the emotions, to heal the thoughts, to heal the feelings. So this kind of art where in music and dance, anyone can participate in it because it is not particular. It's not like you're dancing to a certain rhythm. It's not like music is particularly done for set the same for everyone. It is where music and dance is used. I'll come to art slightly later, so that you can be able to find your own wellness. When we use music and dance, especially in our treatment, then we allow people to pick the kind that associate or relate with, the one that they listen to, the one that they sing and find relief. We allow them to do the kind of dance that they do. It can be freestyle, it can be anything, so long as it offers them the relief that they need. When it comes to art, we allow people to choose the kind of art. And we don't look for skill here. We are looking for expression. We are looking for what they are communicating. We are looking for what they are able to release in terms of negative emotions. We are looking for the kind of relaxation it offers their mind. We are looking for what they are, the feelings they are expressing. It could be in drawing, it could be in coloring, it could be in painting, it could be collage, it could be mosaic, it could be molding or sculpting. Sometimes it is the use of puppets, and this is not limited to just children. It can be children, it can be adults, it can be people who are struggling with mental illnesses, it can be practically people have developmental challenges. It is across, anyone can use it. It can be the elderly. So anyone can use these methods. Of course, for therapeutic purposes, it needs to be guided so that then you can find the full benefits, and it needs to be guided by a professional. So that takes us to the point of not anyone can do it for therapy, but these ones can be used to produce and to promote mental wellness of any sort. But for therapeutic purposes specifically, just like the other form of therapy, one will need someone who is trained and competent in dealing with those kind of tools, the art, music, and dance.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. So now that you say that somebody needs to be trained to deal with these tools, I'd be interested in knowing, do we have enough of such therapists in Kenya? And if we do, where can we find them if we're looking for this kind of therapy?
I will say we have very few places of learning. And I know few universities and TVET or vocational training centers that offer day and night therapy. So people can learn, even to just working with this kind of people, you can learn. I know African Nazarene is one that offers a bit of that. I believe USIU does offer, I'm not very clear though. This I know does offer a bit of that, and then Amani Counseling Center offers art and play for training. So I'm also not very clear because those spaces for training are very few. However, those ones that I mentioned can give you part of training, and I believe you can grow into learning from other spaces. Clear learning, even once you have the basics, one can grow into by getting other training from elsewhere. But here, there are very few actually. But even those few spaces can give you the basics for understanding art, especially art and play, music and dance for therapy. That happens, very little training happens on that for therapy. And if the other panelists is where people and share, those are the ones that I know of.
Okay, so Joanne, still with you, what is a art, music, or dance therapy? Is it the same as a normal therapy session, or is it more?
No, actually, if you find someone who does art and dance and music, that is all. Those are all forms of art in a sense. So the cost ranges between 3,000 to 2,500 to 5,000, or slightly above per person. If you're dealing with a group of people, then that changes based on how many people, but the average cost is from 2,500 to 5,000. And I need to say, for people who struggle for children who struggle with expression, even adults who struggle with expression, they are very well able to express themselves with the art form of their choice. And I know this has been said again by one of the panelists. So these tools are very, very useful for anyone who struggles with a conventional kind of talk, whether they be adults or for children. Ideally, they have to go art, music, dance, or play. For children, that is the only form of therapy that works for them. But now for adults, these alternative methods are also very useful for people who are struggling with expressing themselves.
Okay, thank you. Phila, I'm going back to you about your work with the children, with the special needs children. I'd like you to tell us a bit more about this. How do you go about it? Where do you do it? What benefits do the children get? Or if somebody has any children who might want to join, how do we contact you?
Well, thank you very much, Sarah. Well, we were informed, there was the need, we felt the need because we run a music school, a regular music school that offers music lessons. But I once, I had a student who just came for lessons. The parent brought them for a music lesson. The parents, of course, disclosed to me that their daughter, was a special needs child, but seemed to be inclined to music. And I decided, well, I'm trained for music therapy, but I believe just sharing my musicianship and sharing the joy and the beauty of music, I should be able to just reach out to and just have a session with this this young girl. And you know, I watched how she was opening up through the music compared to how she was, you know, just a bit shy, a bit reserved when it came for just me trying to talk to her directly. But through the music, she felt, wow, I have a friend, I have someone who I can express. And you know, from there we built this relationship of a teacher and student, and I became her friend because she felt this is a person who makes me happy when we sing together. So that is what informed our decision to decide to start a program that we called the Redforth Butterfly, which is now a music school and a music program for special needs students, where some can come for lessons. We have students who have autism, some are capable of just following the normal traditional styles of teaching in music, but some are just there to, you know, just express. Their motor skills might not be at par with the rest, so they might not be able to learn at the pace of everyone else, but you can still see the joy and the desire to keep doing this for them. And that is what we consider our way of giving the music therapy. So just as Joanna said, the challenge would only come where we don't consider ourselves professionals, is that we have the music, but now there are those details of, you know, how best can we be able to handle these students. So that is a long process for us, and we are, you know, just looking forward to partnering with other professionals who can also help us. Now, since we have the music and it's an avenue that we can be able to share music and, you know, just reach out to people, then how are the details of, you know, just handling them can we get to them? And that's why we're trying to partner with as many professionals as possible. So for anyone who's interested in, you know, just bringing their child, bringing a friend, or just coming even just for just general just enjoyment of music, they can contact us via Facebook on Redforth Academy of Music. They can also just find us on Twitter, they can find us on Instagram. They just inbox us and we'll be able.
Okay, thank you, Phila. And also just picking up from where he left, if you'd like to see some of the work that he's doing, it's amazing. You can find the videos on social media. I have watched a few and they have brought tears to my eyes because of how beautiful it all is, and the kind of joy that you see the children getting when they're able to express themselves. So thank you so much, Phila, for that. I'm going now to Dr. Franz. Dr. Franz, you're training to become a psychiatrist, and which means you have seen patients who might benefit from this. Is this something that is recommended in practice, like in the practice that you had so far, or is it still a new concept in Kenya?
Thank you, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I think we live in a society where we are subject to sustained pressure, be it from social, academic, or professional spheres in our lives. And since my days as a medical student to the present, the arts have been a productive outlet for me, a means to decompress in the absence of numerous negative influences that impressionable young minds are exposed to, which is alcohol, drugs, and cannabis, for example, that's becoming quite mainstream and common among the university students. The world can be cruel, it can be dark, and it can be unfair. However, if we choose to solely focus on this grim reality, I think we open ourselves up to despair. And in some instances, and actually in most of them, I believe the role of an artist is to numb society momentarily from the pain of existence. So in my personal experience, I started writing to make sense of what I deemed to be a senseless world. And on this journey to uncover the answers to certain existential questions,
Hello, Franz. Yes, I can hear. Yeah, I can hear you now. Some people are saying your volume is low, so if you can increase it, that would be nice.
Okay, I've increased it. So as I was saying, the role of an artist, in my opinion, is to numb society momentarily from the pain of existence. And I started writing to make sense of what I deemed to be a senseless world. So in my journey to uncover these answers to existential questions, I began to understand Having such insight could allow me to spread hope to others. And I feel sometimes you have to heal your own pain before you can heal others, in a way. And I also became a visual artist to shift focus from everything that was disagreeable around us, with the prospect of my audience viewing the world through a different lens. I believe there is beauty in nature, there is beauty in man, there is beauty all around us, provided we choose to see it. So as mental health practitioners, we've been accused of overdependence on pharmacotherapy, a bias that can prove difficult to alter. However, I believe those in the profession are adapting to these changing times. The use of arts in promoting mental health isn't a mainstream approach in our setting, but at the same time, I wouldn't say it's a new concept. However, I believe much more can be done to incorporate it into our modalities of treatment. I'd recommend it greatly, not only for our patients, but also for us. Medicine is a stressful profession, as you are aware, and it requires a lot of emotional exertion and also emotional capital. And in many instances, doctors absorb society's pain. And this begins not only from the moment you graduate, but from the beginning of training. From the moment you start interacting with patients one-on-one, from the medical wards, all the way to our specialization. But have you ever asked yourselves who absorbs our pain? For example, if an individual does not have a proper support system, for example, those who don't have spouses, or those who are orphans who don't have family, how do they deal with their pain? How do they deal with these pent-up emotions that they can't express? So as doctors, our mode of operation is to suppress, to avoid, we reset, and then we forge on, which is also quite necessary, because in our profession, we have to strike a balance. At the same time that we're expected to have empathy for patients, our empathy should not cripple us, because if it does, we can function, and we cannot do our best for the patients. But simultaneously, we cannot act like robots. So it's a tricky balance that we have to maintain. Now, in terms of trauma, I believe that in some instances, we absorb our patients' trauma, and it takes a subconscious toll on us. And the mind is extremely malleable. However, there is always an end point. What doesn't bend breaks eventually. So music, literature, art, and dance can be useful instruments to distract us from our stressors. It can enable us to decompress, and provided our hearts beat with life, problems in life are inevitable. We can't escape them. The issue is, how do we deal with them? And I believe the arts can create a healthy work-life balance, preventing us from fixating on these problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Franz. For any medical practitioners in the house, I'm hoping you're feeling challenged, and you've been told we need to heal ourselves, and arts and music and dance is as good as any outlet. So I hope many more of us will be joining such things to express ourselves. I'll go to Joanne. Joanne, are there any negative effects or any kind of caution that you give to this kind of therapy?
Sarah would say no, but then I would also focus on a number of things. If someone is using art to promote mental wellness, then there is no negativity or no negative effects that come with that, because you draw as a way of expressing yourself. Basic ways that every human being here can release their own pressure, and especially anxiety. Even if you just picked colors, colors or crayons, and you just closed your eyes and shaded and shaded and shaded on some space, whether that is a board or it's a drawing book, whatever, you will realize that you get some level of release. Just that easy kind of an activity, and very many other activities that can be used by normal human beings who have, or people who have no training at all. So it has no harm. But in terms of therapy, art is more beneficial than any other form of art, music, dance, more beneficial than any other, more benefits than any other form. Practically way easier to use. However, if someone who is using the mental wellness, I mean, anyone can use to promote mental wellness, but if someone is using therapeutic purposes where emotions, or probably treat trauma, treat loss and grief, treat depression using the form of art, unless you're trained to be able to see the details in between, and also use still in art for treatment. And if you do not have the training or understanding, then you may not be able to benefit anyone using art, music, and dance therapy. But for wellness, anyone can do it, and it is not harmful in any way because you're not seeking any interpretation. It just moves you from one space to the other. As much as you can move, better. So for professional purposes, yes, one has to understand so that they can be able to give accurate interventions or and be able to interpret the whatever is happening in the life of accurately. But you just move from one point to the other. That's how I would put it, Sarah.
Okay, thank you, John. Brian, I'd like to hear your insights on how an individual or communities can incorporate art and music and dance just in our day-to-day life, because some of us maybe might find that we don't have the time that it takes to engage in these activities, or we don't have the money that it takes to engage in these activities. So how would you advise us who might want to do more art or more music or dance to just, how can we incorporate this? Brian, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Just to pick from what John mentioned, that this is something that can be done by an individual unless it's meant to do analysis and for therapeutic and diagnosis and such. But when it comes to having it at the community level, it depends with which side you stand on, because you are everyone. So you're either a lover of art or you are the artist. And in most cases, we think it's only about the artist who is able to provide the service to the people. So whether if you're a lover of art, it's for you to find your form of art that works for you, and having that, it's just to create that or promote the mental wellness or mental health of an individual. It doesn't need so much resources because we all have one way we love art in a way. Like you either love music, you love dance, you love painting, just using colors, or you just like going to art galleries and looking at pieces that people have produced or done. So it depends on the individual, but the most let me say easy way to community using art is the collaboration with the artists themselves. Like I'd say, for instance, we have Phil here, and Phil is good at what he does. Are we able as institutions to reach out to Phil and ask Phil, okay, we have this community that we feel might need this? And from what he said, he identified a problem from one individual and came up with, and this is one artist problem. So sometimes it's just showing that opportunity, to bring that opportunity from a problem that has been identified, and that again needs that awareness. Awareness on sensitizing the artist, because sometimes we might call artists when we feel or think that they're going to help more, but probably cause harm because of the language they use, because their specialty is art, not mental health. So again, that collaboration is one way we can improve that. And the other thing, as I mentioned, was just identifying what is your art, what makes you feel good, or what makes you just happy, and trying to lie on that and broadening it and finding opportunities that are able to help you strengthen or scale up what you love most. I think those are the major two ways I think has worked for us as an organization, just trying to find opportunities with creatives and reaching out to communities, identifying what they love most, working with the community itself from what already exists within the community. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I'm glad from what you have said. So I can now proudly say that my off-key singing in the showers and my coloring crayons is art. So next time anybody finds me doing those things, I am doing art. Phila, would like to hear from you about this. How can individuals and communities incorporate art, music, and dance in their day-to-day life, considering the time and the money, we might not have those resources? Just adding on to what Brian has said.
I totally agree. First of all, I agree with Brian because there are a number of ways to approach it, and for it to be wholesome for everyone who needs it, from a point of view, particularly for therapy. And I like the way Joanne has gone into details of there's mental wellness, and also now there's the therapy. So now when we talk about therapy, there's need for a professional. There's need for a professional who's going to, away from the art, who's going to guide, okay, how do we handle this person? Because I believe that is a patient. So how is this person handled as a patient? And then in collaboration with me, who's the musician and have the desire to share my music with someone in need. Now, if I collaborate with the professional, then we are able to give that wholesome help to the individual. Now, for mental wellness, it's just a question of, it's a shift. We just need to have that shift in the way we look at the arts. For a long time, the arts have been considered, it's this is just something for the rich people. It's on the same league. People do golf and stuff like that. But if we are able to just purely, the way Joanna said it, as something purely for mental wellness, then you as a parent will be able to decide, I'm not trying to make my child a professional musician yet. If they decide that's a decision the child is going to make, but why don't I provide for them a platform where they can express themselves without having to feel that they're being measured, they're being rated. Give, buy for them some instrument, let them play around with it. Just let them play around with it. It doesn't have to make that this is where to homework, this is what they enjoy, is painting. The problem with art in Kenya and in our society today, because it's added up to whatever everyone else is doing, and that doesn't have to be the case for everyone. Let it be also an outlet for the young people, and for even us who are older, and we're having different careers that we're doing. I should think that when I get home, if there's nothing else to do, I just want to paint. Not for any reason, let me just paint. I'm not trying to compare myself with anyone else. I'm not trying to compare myself to a certain artist. Let me just record music in my own garage somewhere. Let me just make some music. Let me write a song. Let me record. Just compare, play around with art. That is mental wellness. And I believe as parents are able to let their children be able to express themselves in this thing, even now when a situation arises and there's therapy is needed, it's easier to reach out to and get through to them because they already feel music is what I relate with. And you as a parent have already identified, my child is going to, if you're taking from dance class and then a dance session, and then now try and reach out and find out what is going on, that those you've already established what they love and what they enjoy doing for fun, and that is an opportunity. But the collaboration is going to make the collaboration between us, the artists, and the professionals who we consider the doctors, that collaboration is going to guarantee that it's wholesome. And then for making it affordable, it's art. What we're trying to do as Redford Butterfly, we are offering it as something that we offer for free for students and parents who are not able to pay. But people have bills to pay, so we are also now trying to see ways that we can reach out for support. Because for those ones who can't be able to pay, there's a way that the teachers and the people who have volunteered can be able to just ends meet. But that collaboration is what is going to guarantee that it's affordable for everyone, and at the same time also accessible.
Okay, thank you, Phila. Just still with you. The way you say the Red for Butterfly is free. I've also known of some churches that offer music lessons, some community halls where dance lessons are offered for free. Do you have any examples of such places? Do you know of any?
Yes, there are places that offer music for free, but I am against for free just for free sake, because the musicians and the artists are also professionals who need to make ends meet. I am more interested, and I would advocate more for where there is need. That's when, now let it be clear that a parent or a student comes, they have a need and they're not able to pay for the service. They can do that. We do that at Redford. I'm not aware of any other place free, but I'm sure there are some churches usually offer that. But to make it sustainable for everyone, there needs to be that that support that we can be able to get. Because for someone, I would easily do it for you, but any other languages who also want to help, but at the same time need to make it. If it's going to be a regular session that happens, for example, day, that music will need to be making it for the students, and that's transport. So that kind of support, not everyone can afford, but that would help to bring down the costs a bit lower, but also making sense for the people who are providing.
Okay, thank you. This is to all panelists. If you have children, I mean, for the longest time, I think I've known that for somebody to do art or music or dance, it's better if they start at a younger age. First of all, I'll ask, is that a myth or is that true? Anybody can answer.
Well, it's not a myth. I mean, anything that you start doing earlier, of course, if your intention is to perfect it, you'll definitely perfect it over time. So it's not a myth. It's something that it's a fact that if you start earlier, you'll build your technique. You'll build your routine earlier. You'll be able to sort out all the issues in terms of how you play, how you draw. You'll be able to deal with that much earlier. But the only thing that I notice now, when many times people are forced. Children are, it's their parents who are trying to force them to do this. So children will often, lose interest after some time because they feel forced to do this. That's why I think it's important. Engage them early, but also don't treat it the way you treat academics, regular academics, where you insist to really do well. No, let it be something that is enjoyable. That way they'll always feel that this is something I can back on. This is something I can do when I'm down. This is something that I can use to express. But it's, again, never too late to start. If you feel that you're after high school and you feel this is when I feel I can do this after university, I mean, it's never late, because it's just expression.
Okay, thank you. So then how can parents get more interest in their children or just engage their children more in music and dance? I'm sure there's some parents today with us, they might be interested in finding that out, or some of us who see parents with their children would also maybe want to advise them better. Anybody can answer that?
I'll go. Children are very particular. As they grow, if you follow the cues, they will show you the kind of art they have an inclination towards. So if you find a child is very interested, then they are giving you cues and you can engage them at art level. But let me also say, for most children, they keep changing. They are progressive when it comes to art. If they started with a dance, then they're now interested in music, then they become more progressive. But there are also children who will master one and move on with it for a very long time, both for mental wellness purposes and for engagement, for entertainment, for even switching off the busy schedules of school, station. All these things are very useful to the child. Find out what your child has an inclination towards, Don't just give hints on what you think they can do, because that may not be sustainable. In few occasions, when you expose children to dance, to music, to art, whatever form, like Brian said, expose them to collection of art, again, you see them beginning to build interest in certain forms of art. So in any case, when the child is the one who is leading, then it's more sustainable. In some cases, children become very, very progressive. There's a child I've been mentoring for a very long time, started with drawing when they were 3, 4, then progressed to others, and now they're in the practical kind of art, doing things like beadwork and making sales out of them. And so they are doing a couple of things, learning skills through art and making money through art, as well as also, finding mental release through art. So it depends. If it's progressive work with a child, support them. Don't look at it mostly as a career they're building. Look at it as children are beginning to find ways or skills to cope, to manage the day-to-day stressors through art, music, and dance. So if you see it that way, then you can invest on their mental wellness as opposed to a career, or, but if it becomes a career, fair enough, you will have done yourself a lot of justice. Yeah, that's my contribution.
Okay, thank you, John. Did anybody else have anything to add?
Hear me?
Brian?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so just to add briefly, I think for children, when it comes to art, one thing that we've noted is sometimes you might think a child is interested in some form of art, but in most cases, it's peer influence, because kids might like nataka kama ya nani, or I want to get something. They're more influenced with what their peers are doing, and some of things are what they get from school or they're taught while in school. So when back home, then maybe it's experimenting. They want to see how it go, how that look like if I do it. So it takes time to get to know a child's like preference of art. But one thing that might really work is when you take away most of the things that might seem common or mostly done by peers. Like you see, when you watch TV and you want to draw Superman, or like I think most of us being children, we wanted to draw Superman or Spider-Man, or just want to draw cartoons because that's what most of us were doing, or we watched that. So with kids, it's engaging them either in play therapy, and then you know where the interest is, and the exposure, at the same time just eliminating the most commonly done activities, and then you're able to know, okay, this is what they like most, because the rest of the things might be done because of the influence that they get from their peers or what they are taught in school, and they want to experiment, because it's more about experimenting and wanting to know how does this work, or how will this come out if I try it out. So it takes time, but the few things might really help is just trying to understand what exactly works for them when they're by themselves. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Philip, do you have anything to add for Franz?
Well, I just agree that, I'm in total agreement with what Brian is saying. So the earlier, the better. But just again, like Joanne said, don't say that I want them to be a professional straight away. Creating that opportunity, you are creating that platform for them to be able to just find things that make them feel good. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Franz. Do you have anything to add?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
There's this saying that water finds its own level, and I believe what's meant to happen will actually happen. However, you can give destiny a nudge on the shoulder. And like Phila and Brian said, I think the earlier you start, the better. And sometimes, as also said, some children actually decide to pursue certain artistic pursuits because they want to endear themselves to their parents. And if you sustain this pressure, it might have a negative effect. But in a way, lots of parents, what's the word for it? Children want to make their parents happy. And sometimes parents want to live vicariously through their children. However, it's not wrong for a parent to want the best for you. Like in my case, I started my first experience with a book when I was around. My dad handed me a book. I'll never forget the Tales of Robert the Bruce. And by the time I got to 9, the peer pressure began, and I wanted video games. But he refused to buy me one. Though he didn't force the issue of the literature, he didn't provide opportunity for distraction. And that it all turned out quite well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we have come to the end of the questions that we had for the panelists for today. So if anybody in the audience has any questions, you can just type in the chat box. Meanwhile, Dr. Nyamute had an announcement from KPA, so we can listen to that as we wait for any questions.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening to everyone. I hope you've had a very lovely evening. This has been a very insightful webinar. I'm just excited at the information that we are having and learning so much from it. I hope you have been too. So as you know, this is the May Mental Health Awareness Month by the Kenya Psychiatric Association. And our theme this year has been, or rather is, mental health in the arts, entertainment, and sports industry, with our sub-themes being using arts, music, and dance to promote mental health, which is what we are doing this week. We have mental health in the arts industry, focusing more on the artists. You know, sometimes when they go from grace to grass, and for some, handling fame may be a bit difficult, and handling money as well. So just understanding the mental health for those in the arts industry, that we'll be covering in week 2. Week 3 will be covering mental health in the sports industry for the sportsmen. Then the last week we'll be doing social media and mainstream media, and the importance of social media. Of course, it has a good side, and of course the downside. With social media and mainstream media reporting of mental health issues, and also to do with mental illnesses and things like suicide. So we're going to be having webinars such as this. Of course, now next week we'll have another one. And yes, every Monday until we're done. We'll also be having a YouTube videos. So if you feel like you'd want to participate in any one of those videos, you don't have to be like a super pro in whatever information you give us. But I mean, it's art, entertainment, and sports, and music, and dance. I'm sure you can find something fun to do. For the writers or bloggers, we also have a space for you. So you can contact me as well. Check our Instagram and our Facebook page. We'll be having a few things being posted there. We also have tweet chats. We should be having one this week on Thursday, but to be communicated. Then of course we need a panelist if you want to be again, as I said, the sub-theme is on arts, mental health in the arts industry. And of course, mainstream media, we're having a lot of mainstream media requests to either talk to the public health in different platforms. So please, if you can participate, we'd really appreciate to take just this chance and educate the public. You can share your story, you can share our posts, or any other ideas that you have, please do get in touch. I've loved today's webinar. I was a student, 4th. I dropped out briefly because of schedules, but I'll be going back. And yes, anyone who wants to, partake in arts, mental, dance, and music, I don't think it's ever too late unless it's not your thing. But for us who want to just have fun and sing our hearts out and get rid of the stress and pressures from work, yes, this would be a very good webinar for you, and you can share it to be available after this. Yes, and that's it. Thank you. If in case of anything on the poster, you can reach out to that number, or you can reach out to me directly at Dr. Nyamote. Yes, thank you, and give you back to our.
Thank you, Dr. Nyamote. I wasn't going to mention that the friend of mine who croaks during karaoke is you, but since you've outed yourself, then I guess there you go. Anyway, I can't see any questions in the chat box, so I'm going to assume that there are no questions, but if anybody still wants to key in questions, that's fine. Maybe we can start wrapping up. Franz, if you have any parting words for us, we'd like to hear from you, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, just summarize for us what you'd like us to take from this today.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, and I wanted to bring this out from the point of view of a mental health practitioner. And as Phil has said and Brian has said, the arts are important, but and as Joanne has also indicated, it's also important to have a mental health practitioner process, right? And one important thing I think we need to work on is the art of active listening. And it's something I learned from Dr. Violet Okech while we were rotating in the liaison rotation at KNH. So sometimes our patients feel like they're just a name on a file. However, when we actually listen to them, salient details about their lives, like for example, if their spouse is unwell, if their daughter gave birth to a child, how their grandchildren are doing, and you actually remember their names and a few tiny things about their lives, they get more endeared to you. And there's a chance that they'll even open up more. But like you mentioned earlier, I think interest is what is important, yeah? Can you focus on your patient interests? For example, I believe that we all have an artist in us waiting to excel. But the kinds vary greatly, and it's largely dependent on our interests, as I've said. This could also apply to our patients in a large way. While interacting with our clients, should pick their brain what extracurricular activities they take part in. If an individual likes singing and happens to be a churchgoer, we could encourage enjoy dancing but gave up the hobby. We could suggest they enroll in a Zumba class. If they painted or drew in the earlier years, we could encourage them to pick up where they left off. If they enjoy reading or writing, we could encourage them to join a book club. And like I said earlier, it all depends on their interests. From there, we can sow the necessary seeds, but we have to start by listening actively. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Franz. Dr. Violet, I think you were in the webinar, so kudos to you for teaching our younger colleagues on active listening. We'll go to Joanne.
I will say we learned to use art as a community and encourage art, then we will be improving the mental wellness of the community's individuals tremendously. So we can encourage art without shaming it, because you will notice that, like Sarah, you mentioned that you were not considered artistic back then. Even today, if an adult comes home and they're just dancing to this very rhythm that cannot be understood, they still be highly likely to be shamed, like, what's wrong with this one? So if we would actually encourage people to just do whatever form of art they feel like, we will be encouraging people to work and get into better mental spaces. For children, I am going to say our takes care of all the professional needs of the children. So we handle children from 3 years, and I know the doctors who are present in this webinar will agree that we are beginning to see challenges where children are concerned from a very early age. So we take time to walk your children and also help the adults understand not just happening in the life of the child, but also what the adults and the kind of arts they can consider to, and the forms and the tools that they can be able to use to support the children to get mentally better. So we are here for you and for all the other people that you meet out there. Yeah, that's it, Sarah.
Thank you, Joanne. Phila?
Sorry. I would say I just want to talk about the importance of a platform and such discussions like the one we're having. I don't think we have enough of this. I don't think we have enough. There's an opportunity for us to collaborate more, the different stakeholders and players in this field. So I think such platforms will bring us together, and just to meet different professionals who are making a contribution. I think this would be such platforms. If we can have them more regularly, we can be able to network and just be able to just offer services and reach more people. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Phila. Brian?
So I think I'll just add a few from what has been mentioned already. We might all have left legs, but at the end of the day, the rhythm is just in our heads. So it's how you dance and how you. But for me, art therapy, we can look at it as a way of self-expression and just bring that vibe and energy and wellness, and not a perfection or a profession. And the other thing is having these conversations is a way of opening on mental health, because we're also trying to see how do we contextualize mental health, because as professional practitioners, trying to tell someone schizophrenia and bipolar, those are things that are not really in the community. But if you use things or avenues that are well understood by the community, that's a good entry point for us to start having these conversations on mental health. So art therapy in a way is just an avenue for us to also contextualize and bring mental health closer to the people. And it's something I think will really work, especially for our own context. And we need to keep start talking about it and even bringing out how important it is, apart from having the professional and analytical side of it. Yeah, so for me, it's initiating these conversations more and more and trying to make it work for us as professional first before we go out to the community or our patients, start telling them what mental art therapy as a alternative way of therapy. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. So I'm hoping all of us will take up the challenge that has been given to us, and we'll collaborate more and see how to do more arts and music and dance to just promote positive mental health. So tell a friend, tell a colleague, tell a family member what you have learned today, because it might benefit them. And just a reminder that there'll be recordings in the Kenya Psychiatrist Association social media pages, or you could always contact KPA if you would like the recordings sent to you. I'm hoping that this has encouraged everyone. I hope this week we will all incorporate some form of art, some form of dance, some form of music into our daily routines, whatever it is that gives you joy, whatever it is that distresses you, if it's singing or coloring or writing or dancing, so that we all just have positive mental health at the end of this all. So thank you so much, Dr. Franz. Thank you, Phila. Thank you, Joanne. And thank you, Brian, for taking the time to give us your insights. And I'd like to thank everybody who has attended. And I'd like to wish you all a good evening, a good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.